Now I shall tell you of a story that you can find the overall account in the Bible, but never in the details I am about to mention here. It has to do with two angels known as Harut and Marut. Later they would become known in Egyptian mythology as Heket and Bastet, or the two sibling gods of Egypt, who held some secret family-like bond that they held as sacred and would never break, no matter what the reason may be. Now our story begins at the end of the Second War in Heaven. The 9 warlords of the kingdom of the Black Sun, the surviving Rasheen children, who rose to become the archons of the dragon, Tiamat, had been defeated and banished into prison-like dominions, forbidden to possess corporeal physical forms, and exiled for eternity as unbound spiritual beings. Among the first ones caught were Saniel, Azazel, and Shamyaza. Later I've learned that Uriel, Konkneel, Ananel, Sakwel, Raziel, Zathmel, Azrael, and Tiriel were all caught. But I also found out something else very interesting. Before Moloch fell to take that name, my mentor and teacher had another name during this time. Moloch was my Rasheen's son, Mathakiel. This explains the rumor I had heard about him being turned down a path of evil and darkness. The last I saw him was just as the flood waters came over Megiddo's walls and crashed down on him. I will have to have a talk with him later about that. Anyways, the remaining leaders and commanders of the Rasheen army spilled into ancient Mesopotamia and were hiding amidst the cities and temples. God dispatched commands to the city's rulers when an archon was said to be dwelling in the area, and instructions were given for them and their people to follow a specific list of behaviors. If they refused, then angels would be sent to test them to see if they showed signs of demonic possession. So they were on the trail of one of the archon commanders, Baal, who was said to be in Sodom somewhere. He sent to angels to test them and deliver a message while he spoke to Abraham about his plan to lay siege to the two cities. However, those loyal to Baal knew they were coming and what they were sent to do, so they waited for the two angels to arrive. When they did, as soon as they walked through the gates, Marut and Harut were approached by multiple people, all begging for their help. They had cattle stock that had been stricken suddenly with plague, and their crops were being eaten by locusts that wouldn't die, and mysterious illnesses, and children suffering, and all manner of distractions that would lead them away from completing their task they were sent to do. The two angels brushed them aside and continued towards the city palace. They accused them of being false angels, for ones like them would not turn away when someone was in need. They turned and said, "We were sent here by He who is called I Am, and given instructions we cannot be distracted from. Stand not in our way." And they continued on. As they got to the palace entrance, again they were met by men who said that a feast had been prepared in their honor, and they must attend, for it would be insulting to refuse. They asked if the Sharif of Sodom would be there, and they said they would join them soon. So the angels went, but when they placed the wine and food in front of them, they said the Lord instructed them only to consume the divine manna bread to sustain themselves, and that they were not like humans, so they did not need to eat food or drink wine. Then they brought in dancers to entertain them and tempt them with pleasures of the flesh, and they said that they were sinless in nature and had no desires for the pleasures of the flesh, nor did they have anything to satisfy women with, as they had no genitals. They demanded to see the Sharif, and then they were surrounded by men as the Sharif appeared, and said that he knew they were sent to test them and that they had come to destroy the city. Then they threw them in the dungeon beneath the city. Soon Gabriel appeared to set them free, and he caused the city guards to fall asleep all over the city, giving them time to escape. When they got back to the surface, outside Gabriel told Harut and Marut that he had been sent to set them free and warn them that God himself was coming to destroy both cities, and they had to get Lot and his family out of the city as quickly as possible. The guards were beginning to wake up, and soon an alarm went out to lock down the city. Just then God appeared clad in his glorious armor, with a lion's head emblazoned on the breastplate. It was called the armor of the Archangel David, the armor of God. The Almighty said they didn't have much time, and Belteshazzar had just arrived with Baal. God said to get Lot and his family quickly out of the city, and that he would cover their escape. Harut refused to leave the Lord's side and told Marut to hurry, and he would catch up. Marut ran to Lot's house and got his wife and kids. They had just left the city and were 30 or 40 yards away when suddenly Marut felt a gut-wrenching sensation and blood began to soak through his robes. He knew what had happened. God just fell in battle. Instinctively, Marut yelled to everyone, "Quickly hide your eyes and do not look back, no matter what you hear." But Lot's wife thought for only a split moment of her house and everything they had worked all their lives for, and began to turn to take one last look at their house before they left as a bright light engulfed both cities, like that of an atomic bomb. The true form of God appeared for only a brief second, and the breath of life was ripped out of everyone who dwelled in both cities, as Sodom and Grammorah were destroyed in an instant, and everyone in it. The area suddenly became a pile of dust and salt, devoid of the breath of life, and returned from the dust from which they came, as to was Lot's wife. This story was first told to me by Marut, but as he told me, the image-like memories played out in his story as I listened, which gave me the ability to discern this story, just as Daniel would decipher the dreams and visions of other people. How do I know of these things? And who am I, you might wonder? As I had said, when I was taken to heaven in my coma, I became the angel known as Lucifer, the first one made before all others. For in the beginning Lucifer was the Word, for God was in the Word, and he was with the Word, for God was the Word. And the Word has been present since the beginning, from the Alpha to the Omega. So it should be no surprise that I have these residual memories. Hope you enjoy this of what I remembered upon hearing the tale of Lot.